Okay, Mr. It's all yours.
All right, thank you, Dr. Conteh. Thank you for being here. We want to thank everybody for being here again this Sunday. We want to talk about two issues today. The most important thing is the floodings in the Gambia and what this tells of our country, our systems, and our institutions. Uh, we will also talk about the economy briefly. Um, we will look at some of the key things that the Minister of Finance uh, said about the situation of the Gambian economy uh, briefly. First, Dr. Conte, we want to look at the flooding in the Gambia. The Gambia has been experiencing some several days of heavy rains, and then many parts of the country uh, has experienced flooding. The most affected areas are the Greater Banjul area, Banjul, the capital city itself, and also many parts of KMC. I do understand from reports, KMC officials themselves confirmed that some 60% of the municipality has been affected by flooding. These areas included Ibo Town, Talinding, parts of Bundu, Kotu, um, and many other places in the municipality, KMC, have been affected by the flooding. Banjul has been devastated, uh, to say the least. Many households have been rendered homeless. Many have been evacuated to St. Joseph's High School uh, to be housed there.
Don't forget,
Tobacco Road.
don't forget St. Augustine's.
What's that? Yeah, St. Augustine's, I understand many have started moving to St. Augustine's because St. Joseph's has started flooding it also. So many are moving to St. Augustine's. And we have to consider that St. Augustine's and St. Joseph's are pretty close to each other. So if St. Joseph's is flooding, probably St. Augustine's might end up getting affected also. And the new police lines there also, which is also in the same vicinity. But nonetheless, people are housed at St. Joseph's and now at St. Augustine's. Um, a lot of damages, a lot of displacement to people in Banjul. Dr. Conte, I do understand that some 200 families are settled at St. Joseph's and probably now at St. Augustine's. But a lot more people have moved to the Commons to live with their families. And I hope the emergency response people, the, the humanitarian responders, do not ignore those people who have moved to the Commons to live with their extended family. I think they should try to reach out to them and extend assistance to them because many of these people moving to their extended family in the Commons will no doubt put a lot of economic pressure on those people also. So assistance will be needed to those families also. So I hope they are able to track those people and extend assistance to them so that the economic fallout of these disaster do not get any worse than what it is now already. So that's what we want to say. But Dr. Conte, this flooding has exposed a lot of weaknesses in our systems and in our institutions. Um, so, some of the things that are being moved, peddled around currently are the recent Banjul rehabilitation project that was carried out by Guy Enterprise. Many people are blaming that project for creating many of the problems that Banjul is facing now. we will recall that that project was a $40 million project that was supposed to address Banjul's drainage system, its roads, and its sewage system, and also what they call the beautification of Banjul. However, this flooding, this rains is the first major test of that project, and it has failed that test very woefully. So many are blaming that project for the problems that Banjul is facing today. Some are saying that nonetheless, the rain that Gambia received, or Banjul particularly received recently, has been unprecedented. It's a 34-year kind of a flood, they said. The amount of rain has not been seen in the past 34 years. Some experts are saying that have been able to listen to. But nonetheless, the blame is up there, particularly directed to Guy Enterprise for the project they have undertaken in Banjul. So I think the jury is out on this. Probably the government wants to investigate this issue and get to the bottom of it. But also, Dr. Conteh, I think it also speaks to the lack or the complete dysfunction of Gambian systems. I understand that the machines that were supposed to pump water out of Banjul have been dysfunctional. One of them that has been operating has been working on below capacity. So it was not in position to even pump enough water out of Banjul to avoid the flooding. So this machine has been dysfunctional for some time, and coupled with NAVEC's problems, some blame is apportioned to NAVEC also, because I understand the energy that is being supplied was not even enough to operate one of their machines. So this whole thing exposes the perennial weaknesses in Gambia's systems and our institutions. So I hope it is a wake-up call for all of us to work harder to make our country work more efficiently in the future. One has to also say that the National Disaster Agency, I don't know what they call it now, NDMA or something like that, needs to also strengthen their contingency plans. Because you don't wait until disaster strikes and then you want to strategize. It probably will be too late. You have to strategize well before disaster strikes. So you are in a position to jump into action in the first few seconds of the disaster. So I would really suggest that every year, end of May, beginning of June, NDMA, National Disaster Agency, needs to do a contingency audit of the country. Look at all the critical areas, particularly Banjul. They need to look at the machines that pump water out of the city when it floods or when rains are coming, heavy rains are coming. They need to look at their shelters, places on high ground where they can shelter people, and stock up on necessities, food supplies, materials, clothing, and all that stuff that will be needed to sustain the people that may be evacuated. Identify locations, that are on high ground that can shelter people, and set up everything ready to go. But particularly the audit, I am definitely going to emphasize on the contingency planning, which will audit the emergency preparedness of the country every beginning of June or end of May, every year, to make sure the country is prepared to accommodate, to respond to these emergencies, so that when flooding strikes, they are ready to jumpstart, and move people and pump water out of the city so we can avoid a major flooding. And where flooding happens, a lot of the people can be evacuated very quickly into safer places. Now, the situation that is facing Gambia right now, particularly Banjul, and this, eventually may extend to many parts of the country. Gambia is a pretty small country. Is that there's a serious threat of cholera in Banjul. My understanding is that, and these are widely reported in the local media as well. My understanding is that even from the National Assembly member of Banjul North and Rahim Malik Low, who was visiting affected areas, victims around the Banjul area, is that the water, the stagnant water in much of Banjul is now contaminated with sewage. You can see the change in color of the water. So there's a serious threat of cholera outbreak in Banjul and across the country as well. There is a report, I read a report in the Standard newspaper today that seems to suggest that there's currently an outbreak of some kind of disease among young children. Half of all the victims that reported to hospitals have died already. And this disease, there's an investigation to pin down the causes of the disease. They don't know as yet. But children are developing diarrhea, and they seem to be developing kidney failure, and many of them are dying. About half of the reported cases are dying. So we don't know what this is, and it is premature to say it is cholera outbreak, but there seems to be some outbreak of some disease in the country already. And so we have to be really careful and pray that we don't have a major disease outbreak in the country, because there's so many. The country is in a very fragile situation now. We talk about economic problems in the country. The country is facing some major economic hardships, major economic challenges, and we don't want a situation where we see a lot of dead people piling up in the country, and that can be a big source of political instability in the country. We don't want to see that. The sub-region is very unstable right now. So Gambia needs to do everything it can to mitigate this situation and put it under control. Dr. Conteh, we also understand that the president is under heavy criticism for the fact that he has gone on vacation when the country needs him most. I do understand there is this Islamic New Year in the Gambia, Tamharid. So tomorrow particularly is declared as a public holiday. But nonetheless, the president took a 10-day holiday, I believe, at a time when the country is suffering a lot. I don't know if this is politically smart or wise at all. If I were the political advisor of the president, it probably would have been a good idea for an announcement to be made that the president is supposed to go on an annual leave, but he has canceled it because of the emergency situation in the country. A lot of people are affected by flooding and they are suffering. The president is going to stay at the State House and stay in charge and do all he can to help the victims and those suffering, to ameliorate their conditions. That would have been a big political score for the president, but nonetheless, he's on a 10-day vacation, I believe. So we'll see how all this goes. But Mamburenjai and Guy Enterprise are very much in indictment for what Banjul is facing today. I believe Mamburenjai was a major factor in ensuring that Guy got that contract to rehabilitate Banjul. We will recall that Mabura Guy was the finance minister at the time, and he was very instrumental in that in the realization of that project. And the project, I understand, was single source to Guy Enterprise, presumably to be pre-financed. Many are claiming now that even though it was sold to the public that the project was to be pre-financed, it was not actually pre-financed. So I don't know how true this claim is, but this is out there. This is a claim that people are making. And suddenly, Banjul people are not really satisfied with the kind of work, the quality of work that Guy Enterprise did in Banjul. Suddenly, the sewage system and the drainage system are not functional. They have buckled under the face of this heavy rains. Even the roads in Banjul, many engineers are claiming that the roads are poorly constructed. The materials that are used are not of good quality, and they are not probably the suitable materials for roads in Banjul. So I don't know. And one thing also I want to say, Dr. Conteh, Banjul's situation must be understood also from a geological perspective. Banjul, the whole of Banjul is built on a sand spit, right? We learned that in high school geography, right? Banjul is a sand spit. Sand spit is a physical structure. It's a geographical feature. It is created, sand spits are sand deposits. So basically, River Gambia, as it moves towards the Atlantic from the Futajalons, it has accumulated a lot of debris, a lot of load. Its load is mainly sand, right, from the sandstones of this Futajalon Highlands. And as it enters the Atlantic, at the mouth of the Atlantic, what happens is at the mouth, the volume of the pressure has declined, right? And the water flows less slowly, right? And the load it is carrying, its carrying capacity declines. So a lot of the load get deposited, right? So the sand spit is a product of deposition, right? So as the river enters the Atlantic, a lot of its load, which comprised of sand, got deposited over time at the mouth of the river, and this accumulated over time and formed a sand spit which Banjul is built on. Okay, so the British, actually, my understanding is that based on the research I read, the British settled on that island because of its strategic location for trade and defense, right? And this sand spit is pretty fairly recent. It's only about 12,000 years old. It's, I think, according to the geology, it was deposited in the Holocene epoch, which is like 12,000 years, a little bit under 12,000 years. It's about 11,600 years ago. But the curious thing about sand spits, Dr. Conteh, is that the forces that deposit, that cause the deposition of the sand, are often reversed after some time. And I think Banjul is facing that situation also. The process of the deposition of this sand materials from the river is being reversed. Now the river is turning back on this sand spit and eroding it. So Banjul is facing a lot of erosion of this sand. We all know that erosion has been a big problem. If you look at where this Christian cemetery is, you can see a lot of this action, geologic action going on, right? So sand spits are quite known for that. They end up getting eroded back by the same river action. So So Banjul is facing that, and that is why I think, and I could be wrong on this, I think the sand mining they are doing at Denton Bridge is not helping this situation also. It is speeding up the process of the erosion of Banjul, the sand spit that Banjul is sitting on, right? And if you look at basic soil science, tells us that sand have macropores, right? They are better able to absorb water and percolate it deep underground, right? So sand can be very helpful. And those sand spit can be very helpful in shielding Banjul from a lot of the effect of wave action. But sand mining there, removing all that sand and putting it in a bag and selling it for construction is speeding up the erosion process, in my view. I'm not a geologist. I studied some geology, but I'm not a professional geologist. So one has to be cautious about that. And I'm going to be quite cautious about that. But in my view, the sand mining at Denton Bridge is seriously jeopardizing the protection of Banjul from coastal erosion, right? So we have to bear that in mind also. I know Gambia, I don't know if it's right to say this, but we tend to look at things in a more expedient way than we don't seem to do things properly, right? I don't know. A lot of things we do don't seem to follow due diligence. Diligent. We're not usually very diligent about making decisions about these things. We tend to be quick and look at short-term benefits rather than long-term benefits. So I think Banjul's problems can also, even remotely, can be understood or probably explained or even looked at from a geological perspective also. And if you look at the other side of Banjul, around Half Dye and other places, these are pretty waterlogged areas, right? There's very little percolation. Water is not too far from the ground, right? If you scratch the ground surface a little bit, water comes out, right? So Banjul is very prone to waterlogging and flooding, right? We hope to bring some of these things out so that as we face this problem in Banjul, Dr. Conteh, we will be able to understand it from a broad perspective and try to devise ways that can broadly resolve some of these challenges in Banjul. I know the president has announced $123 million project that is going to come to address some of these drainage problems in the country. I think in that $123 million project, there are two projects there outlined. One is going to be $43 million, and the other is going to be $80 million to address the drainage canal issue. But already you got Banjulians are complaining that they already spent $40 million on their drainage issue, and nothing has seemed to change. Are we going to continue pouring money into these things when they are not working? The jobs are not being done properly. People are taking these contract monies and they're taking shortcuts, and they deliver services or products that are of low quality, and then they leave the country and go settle in Senegal or somewhere else, and no accountability. They should be able to come and fix this problem, because if I buy a product from you, there should be some kind of warranty on that product, right? You can't do a $40 million project for me, and then within a year, that product doesn't work. I should expect some amount of time during which that product should be able to work, right? Otherwise, you know, um, I mean, the product is of no quality, and probably my money should be refunded, right? I think they call it. I think the legal people call it merchandisability, right? The product should be expected to perform, should be able to do what it's designed to do, right? If it doesn't do that, then it didn't meet the required fulfillment, the required expectations. So I think that's it, Dr. Conte. I know you may have something to say on this, what Gambia is facing right now, what Banjul is facing right now. It's a major exposure, revelation about our systems and our institutions, how our country works. Dr. Conte.
Well, thank you very much. Flood happens almost everywhere. I saw two floods, one in the early 1990s, and another one in just 2016 to be exact, the 16th of August, 2016. And I saw someone going through the water up to his neck. And I know how massive floods can be. But then going back to 1987, if they say that 1980, 84, they say that the highest rainfall was about 34 years ago, so we can be 1988. I just want to know whether they had a massive construction on Tobacco Road before I can lay blame. I also would like to know whether the swampy land between Crab Island and Bone Road that was cleared by Mr. Guy for a warehouse, whether that contributed to the flood. I can even look at rural perspective. When our people used to go to swampy areas to cut down bamboos, and our parents, the females, they never had any problem having sand in the rice fields. And because most of the time when you are going to the rice fields in most places, they do have sand hills. And those sand hills protected the water, the flow of water or sand into the rice fields. But as they decrease the level of the sand, water coming in with sand will, most of them went in the rice fields. And as a result, cultivation on rice fields decreased. I'm also wondering, I wasn't there, the flow of water from the Denton Bridge as you head towards Banjo, was the tide, was it moving on the left side as you are going, or was it going on the left? If the mouth of River Gambia is further down with heavy rain, I'm of the belief that part of that water may have gone on the right side. And if then that was the case, that water or flow of water went through behind mile 2, and then it went through the swampy areas, and then ended up crossing over to Bond Road and found its way to Tobacco Road. That's my because you see, you and I all went to St. Augustine's. After you pass Gambia High School, there's a drainage right after Yaya Caesar's compound, right?
Right.
and that drainage goes all the way through the backside of Peel Street, if I'm not mistaken, and it enters its way all the way to, again, correct me on Grand Street. So if the flow of water and they block several uh, places over there, so there is a likelihood. I wasn't there. I'm just making a guess estimate. But I think the best person who can help us answer this question is Dr. Malandin Jaite, because he's a geologist, and I think he should. I also don't want to make any judgment again on Mr. Guy until the water reduces or completely empties, so that we can see whether the road is going, the concrete is going to stay. But I'm a pessimist in that, because remember when they were putting concrete, I said that's not going to work because Banjul is salty, and depending on how many layers of cement you're going to put down, but as the water sits on the cement, it's going to peel off. And because I saw this with my own eyes with rain, and what happened to concrete. You can concrete something, but when the water comes, it can wash it away. And another one that is so sad is the stagnant water that kids are playing in, and the sewage that people are playing in, and I even talked to someone today. I warned her, serious in Bakau, that please don't allow your children to play in the water. So this is a national call, and the mayor of Banjul. I'm glad you talked about the 200 some people that she housed at St. Joseph, and now they are moving to St. Augustine's. She's personally paying for all that. So remember when, because I saw a video of her when the then minister Bailamin Joe, she was very disrespectful to her. How can you bring a major project in the city, regardless of our differences politically? They never involved the mayor in the conversation. I saw the video and he was very, very disrespectful to her. So now it seems like she has been redeemed what she was talking about. So I hope when the water resides and then we see what has happened to the concrete, but I don't think the concrete is going to stay. And I think now we need to begin to have extradition treaty with Senegal for some of our government officials or former government officials who feel that they can take jobs in the government, take advantage of Gambians, steal money from the Gambia, and go and build gigantic dwellings in Senegal. I stayed in one of the hotels owned by a former minister. When I was there, and a gentleman told me that this hotel is owned by the minister, the former minister. And the minister was in the hotel when I was passing. I said, please don't tell him I'm here. And I saw him sitting down. So these are the people who supposedly are out there trying to help Gambians, but they have now found a place where they can. This is not a matter of suspicion, but a matter of voicing our feelings that our small country, the Gambia, we can have people who want to take advantage of the situation. And the president, I still support, but I am very disappointed when anytime we say something about his leniency, and they will jump to say that we are against his development agenda. So that's just psychological. But can you believe? So most of us here are fortunate to be in diaspora. You eat your breakfast, you eat your lunch, and I know you're going to eat your dinner. But how about the small little things that these people had before and it's all evaporated? How about now your house that you built? You felt that you have a secure place to live with you and your family and generations to come. Now all that is succumbed with water. And our people need to be taught uh, advice that just because if you have standing water in your house, mildews will come. In the United States, I saw it myself in 2016 when buildings were overrun by water. After the water went away, they came in and they took out all the shillings there. You know, they took everything out to make sure that, and they cleaned the place first before they could do anything. But in the Gambia, you think they're going to do that? No, they're not. I'm also concerned about our alma mater, even though they came to the rescue of Gambians. That's St. Augustine's way. I wonder when they're going. Gambia High School also is going to invite uh, people to come and stay there. But I'm also concerned about the health of students coming back to St. Augustine's. I'm very concerned about that. Are they going to have any fumigation before they allow any student to come? I wonder the house of prayer. Is it King Fahad Mosque in Banjul? Are they going to use that playing ground also for people to sleep? We call ourselves Muslims, so why should why should Christian institutions be the first to volunteer? I'm wondering whether the Supreme Islamic Council also going to find it, you know, to do something. I know the Ahmadiyya movement is gonna do it because they are known for doing something like that. I also would like to know whether this government in the Gambia will open the doors of the Sadauda Kairawa Jawara Conference Center to allow displaced people to come in. Let no one tell me that no, we cannot do that because they're coming, they're going to mess up the place, because that will be a slap and an insult to every Gambian. This is what citizens should be asking for. This is what UDP should be talking about. This is what GDC, DOI, all political parties, even some of the people who support NPP, this is what they should be talking about, engaging the government. But it seems like after election in our country, if you lose the election, you hibernate. So we don't have strong opposition leadership. And I wish, the president did not even go on vacation, because this is not the right time to go on vacation. The psychological effect. And then when I put that there, in my view, the president should not take vacation slash holiday. Some people say, why? We have a national disaster.
Yeah.
The president is needed. Don't tell me that he has his people out there. No, we need him 24/7. And it was totally unwise for the president to come to the scene without leaving the vehicle, sitting in the vehicle. I don't know who ever did that. Even Silifo Sonko went in the water. He went in, and now people are making joke of it. No, but he went in. But our own president, no, you see, for us in diaspora, because we are known anytime they want to mention any of us to provide advice to them, they will always say, hey, don't talk to those diasporans because they are difficult. But every single day, if we don't send money home, somebody will go to bed without food. Just this Tabasco just passed. Guess what happened? We had to we had to send money for rams, and even some of the clothes that our family members want to put on to show off. So here we are, and they call us what? Semesters. They have other regulatory names called what? Malang, meaning a fool. I'm sorry if your name is Malang. So Gambia is in a dire strait, but I really commend the mayor of Banjul for coming out. And there is another council member who I almost talk every other day. And I told him, please get out. Go to your district. Go from compound to compound and see the situation. And he went. And yesterday, he told me that he was going again because somebody's house fell. You are not giving them money, but you cannot giving them moral support. I also want to, thank that wonderful uh, National Assembly member, Mr. Honorable Yaya Sanya, who was out there in the neighborhood talking to his people, helping them out. And I know that KMC, he says 60% of KMC is submerged in water. This is sad. This is no time to blame anyone, but a time to heal, a time for us to come together as Gambians. Yeah, we can politic when it comes to, but I tell you what, my mind has totally changed on the mayor of Banjo for her solidarity with her people. Politics for me, when it comes to Rohit Malik Law, is dead because Rohit Malik Law has shown Gambians what a true leader should be. Bringing 200 people to a school and feeding them. And I haven't seen her asking anyone to say, I need some help. These are type of people we need in our country. But when we politicize every single little thing, we can't go anywhere. In America, when disaster comes, there is no Democrat or Republican. It's all American. And in the Gambia, we should do the same thing. But I'm afraid, that this standing water in Banjo is very sad. And oh my God, if Jammeh was the president, no disrespect to Barrow, but I tell you what, Mamburenjai, Balamin Job, and Hadim Guy
Again.
will be in Bamadengat, and he'll seize all their accounts. But I think the Gambia should now begin to engage the Senegalese government for also have extradition treaty with Senegal, that our former officials or people who are in contract or were in contract with the government of the Gambia or any other person can willfully try to do work that is not recommended, and then they turn around and take our money and enjoy it in Senegal. This has to stop. This has to stop. But I hope the president can rethink and cut his holiday short and come back because we need leadership at the State House. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conteh. Very well said. I totally agree. I think the president should have canceled his vacation. Um, and it is not that we do not have NDMA, National Disaster Management Agency. Um, we do have that, but the president's moral support is highly needed at this time when so many of our citizens are suffering. The president, and it's an opportunity to score huge political points by announcing that the president canceled his vacation because of the disaster and stay with the victims and ensure that they are taken care of, ensure that resources are available for their situation to be addressed. It is an opportunity that is missed. So, and the fact that he did not come out of his vehicle when he visited victims in Banjul was also very ill advised. I think the president should have been seen to feel the pain of the people and empathize with them by coming out and meeting them personally rather than waving them through the window of the car. Um, so those are opportunities that are missed. I hope we pay attention to those in the future. Um, so we're not here to criticize the president, but we are trying to um, help him understand and those around him to understand that there is an alternative way to do these things and score the appreciation of the people, score political points uh, with those. Dr. Conteh, um, this disaster, and we're going to talk about the economy a little bit in the eyes of the minister, but this disaster in Banjul is going to also have a huge economic implication for the country. Already we are seeing the president pledging $123 million towards this addressing some of these problems that have emerged out of this flooding of Banjul and the greater Banjul area. And it looks like, by all indications, that $123 million is going to come out of the $200 million that is recently, line of credit, that is recently pledged by the Indian Bank, Exim Bank of India. We remember that the vice president and his entourage just came back from India last week. And then there is this line of credit that the Exim Bank of India has opened for the Gambia. According to the VP's vice president's speech, much of that money was going to be directed to the health sector, right? But now it looks to me that money is going to go to those two projects that the president outlined for the drainage canal in the greater Banjul area. So in terms of opportunity cost, the Gambia is going to face some losses in terms of what that money could have been used to upgrade our health sector. Now, that prospect is going to be foregone in order to address the drainage system in Banjul and other places. That could have been addressed already by the $40 million we already spent on the Guy Enterprise project. So, this is very noteworthy. We have to be aware of this kind of hidden cost in our system. If we had done things properly in the first place, that money could have been used in a better way to upgrade our health sector and to embark on other development projects that will benefit the people. But it looks like that opportunity is going to be missed again. And the money now has to be redirected to something that would not have been the situation at all. So that much we have to also bear in mind. And I want to say this, Dr. Conteh, we are bringing some of these things out in order to help our country or to help each other understand some of these dynamics properly in a way to move our country forward. When Gambia prospers, it prospers for all of us, right? We're not trying to impose our ideas on anybody. We only hope that what we talk about as our own ideas are part of a larger discussion about our country. Our views must be understood only in that sense. We're not trying to be arrogant here. We're not trying to be imposing ourselves on anybody. We're only trying to contribute, right? We live in a society, a Gambian society, right? And we are all affected by that society, decisions made in that society by the government. And it is important that we all contribute to make those systems and that society a better place for all of us, right? And the more we participate, the more we contribute, the more we bring out our ideas, the better we are in a position to do that, right? To make the Gambia a better place. If we all shut up and mind our own businesses, things do not work quite well, right? We let a few people dominate the conversation and do things the way they want to without accountability or without exposing those systems and processes that are in place, right? We need to talk about these things. Dr. Conteh and I, and anybody who joins us, are only doing this from that perspective, right? This is the least we can do. We don't have much to do, but we can give up 1 hour of our time every Sunday and talk about these issues. with the view that, with the hope that somehow, as little as it might be, it will foster the process of these discussions in our country. And hopefully one day, some of these things will pay dividend, right? If I may give an analogy, a few days ago we were talking about Roe v. Wade. We were talking about law, right? How judges make their decisions. And we were talking about majority opinions. We were talking about dissenting opinions. We were talking about concurring opinions, right? If you look at the legal opinions, when the Supreme Court make a ruling and the majority wins and the majority write their decision about, for example, abandoning Roe v. Wade, right? And then the small group of the juries, the judges, disagree. Those who disagree are the minority, right? So they write their dissenting opinion. Now, so you have the majority opinion that stands, and then dissenting opinion that dissents from the majority opinion, but that doesn't become law, right? The majority opinion becomes law, right? But the saying is that the dissenting opinions are important in the sense that they may become tomorrow's law, right? So, so even though you may disagree, you may have a different perspective, it is important to express it, because in the future, when we review those laws, the people who confront those laws again, they look at the dissenting opinion, people who disagreed with that law from the beginning. And that law may be recalled, that opinion may be recalled, and may become crucial in making new laws and new decisions. So today's dissenting opinion may become the majority opinion tomorrow, right? So dissent is very important in society, right? We don't all have to be rubber stamp. We don't all have to agree. It is very important to disagree, in good faith. If you see something that you don't agree with, or you think it could be done in a better way, it is very important to bring this out so that they could be on the table and be part of the conversation, part of the discussion. I know some of us, like me, we are born critics. I don't look at anything the same way as most people do. I am very critical of everything. So I have to say that, I pretty much, you give me anything, I will see something that I'll critique about it. So, but, I am not hesitant to view my opinions about anything I'm confronted with. And I always appreciate if somebody disagrees with me, because it gives me a different perspective of things. And that is why I am never hesitant to bring my different views about anything. And that is basically what we are doing here, Dr. Conteh. So we're trying to give in good faith the way we see things in our country, and the way we think things can be done better, right? And we don't use a journalistic approach here. We don't rely on reporters or a reporting technique. Dr. Conteh is a professional in his field. I try to do research. I try to find out and learn about my country and analyze things. And we come up with points of view that we can share with the people. We could be wrong, we could be right, but feel free to tell us what you think. We have created avenues where you can express your views and disagree with us, or educate us. For me, I'm a lifelong student. I'm learning still. I enjoy learning. So feel free to be part of the conversation. Don't feel that we are imposing anything. We're just trying to be helpful. We're just trying to be participating in a broader conversation about our country. way to advance the country. Dr. Conteh, anything on this before we move to the last leg of this?
Oh yeah, because of the copyright stuff of Facebook, I cannot put this stuff out there. But the Exim Bank of
Mhm.
India is almost there in collaboration with the Exim Bank of China.
Right.
And I went online and I saw the Indian right in the Chinese alphabet in there. And let me tell you one thing: these people have now found a way to finance any capital expenditure by giving us lines of credit and then forcing us to buy their product and shipping them to the Gambia. It says here, that a line of credit is a financing mechanism through which Exim Bank extends support for exports of projects, equipment, goods, and services from India. So, which means that this thing is not free. It's a loan, and the president should be able to tell Gambians that these things are, it's not grant money. We have to pay.
Right.
So you buy the goods from India, they ship it to you to the Gambia. So we fatten the Indian corporations because this is owned by the Indian government. So again, we are going to be fully in debt. The materials we're going to buy are going to come from where?
Yeah,
Are
we are
come
a
from
market.
India.
We're being used as a market. So.
Yeah, the expatriates who are coming to do the work, they're going to be Indians.
Yeah.
The only area we benefit will be labor, unskilled labor performed by Gambians.
Well,
But almost 85% of everything is going to go back to India.
yeah.
And then we don't even sit down to think about the fact that if we need capital expenditure, we should have user fees attached to it so that we can even pay the interest on it. Because I was talking to a Gambian diplomat and I told him that the biggest problem we have in the Gambia, anytime we need something, we go borrow. But if we build something, we have to maintain it. Where do we get any resources? In this country, if you want to have a school building, you get a bond, BOND, and the taxpayers vote on it. And if it is approved, they attach some form of user fee to it to pay down even on the interest. But unfortunately, we don't. So again, India is now, China and India, they are now in cahoot with each other. So it doesn't increase our creativity whatsoever. I would love to have our military to be trained as Army Corps of Engineers to help us in some of these instances. I even asked someone, did the Army come out to help? He said he didn't even know where they did.
I think the army would have loved to, but
Oh,
the
yeah, but
NDMA,
well, we have some wonderful, smart people out there,
yeah, but
but we are not utilizing them.
The NDMA is the one who is supposed to initiate all this.
We
They
are not.
could have reached out to the military and set up a contingency plan where the military could be activated to intervene in some of these things. But if you wait until disaster strikes and then you are trying to call what they call a stakeholder meeting, what stakeholder meeting are you calling? It's too late. This is where action is needed. No meeting is needed. These things should have been planned long before this time, and then systems are put in place to kickstart them as soon as disaster strikes. But if you wait with no planning, no contingency planning, nothing in place, you wait until disaster strikes and you're trying to call a stakeholder, what stakeholder meeting are you calling? I don't even know when people talk about these things, it's just unpreparedness. So but I think the army would have loved to help, and they should. The army could be better utilized.
But we are not utilizing them.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Conte. Next, we will look briefly, and this is going to be quite brief. We'll look at the economy, what I call the economy in the eyes of the Minister of Finance. In full disclosure, Mr. Keta is, I would call him a dear friend of mine. We went to sixth form together. I think we shared a chemistry class at sixth form. So I have enormous respect for him, and he's been a very smart student. Um, Clearly, a lot smarter than I am. But we went to sixth form together. So I probably look forward to meeting him when I return to Gambia next time. Um, but I want to say a few things that he mentioned in his speech to the National Assembly. And this was reported extensively. Well, let me take out the word extensively. This was reported in the Standard newspaper also. Even though the standard reporting is quite a little bit confusing, it's not. I don't think it was very clear. So I hope some of our reporters do a better job in clarifying some of these things. But nonetheless, the uh, the able minister, like they like to say in Gambia, Mr. Keter said some things that really caught my interest, and I think they revealed quite a bit about the position of our economy in the Gambia. He said the Gambia's economy. He described it in this way, and he was talking about the recent 30% salary increments in the Gambia, and saying that in his view it is non-inflationary. It is not going to affect inflation in the country. But he said the debt to GDP in the Gambia is 85%. That is a very high number, right? And then he said revenue to debt ratio in the Gambia, in Africa, is 16%. In the Gambia, it's only 11%. So revenue mobilization in the country is only 11%. So, Dr. Conteh, I think this is quite revealing to me in the sense that if we are not mobilizing domestic revenue efficiently, um, you know, and we are increasing salaries by 30%, I think we are putting ourselves in a very difficult situation. Considering our budget deficit situation. But also, it also revealed quite a bit about the tax collection in the country. And the minister mentioned that too, about a task force to be set up to try to improve and enhance tax collection. So tax collection, even though DRA, I have some dear friends working in DRA and are doing terrific jobs day in and day out. Very honest, trustworthy people do a fantastic job for the country. I have no doubt about that. But I think the GRA's claim that they um, have met their target for tax collection, which can be true. I have no dispute about that. My only worry is that their target might be too low. Certainly, more can be done, I think, right, to help uh, boost revenue in the country and for us to be able to meet budgetary needs, requirements to fund, to pay down our debt, but also to fund some of these projects without too much relying on more loans and more loans and more loans. So that much I wanted to say about the situation of our economy vis-a-vis the recent salary increments by 30%. I think I am not disagreeing with the minister that in his view, these increments may not be inflationary, but I think every time you increase salaries like these, you are you are putting more money into the economy. You are just increasing spending, and even forget about the cost to the government. But also, you are pumping more money out there into the pockets of people, which are likely going to be spent chasing the same number of goods and services. Unless supply bottlenecks are addressed, you end up pushing prices up, right? And we here we are talking about you are depreciating, you are undermining the value of our currency. Basically, inflation potentially is likely to increase. Prices are likely to increase. The value of the dollar will continue to depreciate, right? And the country is going to be harder and harder for everybody because we have more money now flowing out in society, chasing fewer and fewer goods. So we need to address the supply side. We need to make sure the supply bottlenecks are addressed so that we can have a large quantity of the goods and services that Gambians need to flow into the country easily. Transaction costs must be reduced so that we can have access to the goods and services we need. And I think, in my view, in the long term, that is the only way we can deal with price increases in the country, and that's the only way we can deal with inflation in the country. Dr. Conte.
Well, I totally disagree with the minister when he said that salary increases is not inflationary. It is inflationary, and the reason why they've decided to increase salaries is because of low wages. People are unable to feed their families. Let's be realistic. I'm terribly disappointed when the minister said that revenue decreased $3.3 billion, which is equity. I just want to talk to him as an accountant that we need to revisit accounting theory and we need to look at the accounting equation. If your equity goes down, which in the accounting equation, assets equal liabilities plus equity, and you are on the right side, and if you have a decrease in equity, which is a debit, which results in a reduction in the in equity. Tell me where you're gonna go to. Are you going to go to the liability side to increase the liability as a credit, which is abnormal? Because if your equity revenue goes down, it affects your total assets. I haven't seen this minister or the government talked about how revenue can be enhanced. Uh, I challenged the Gambia Revenue Authority that every time they came in from January to April, because that's when they stopped, I said that their next prediction for May and June will be, oh, we have collected 1.1 billion. So therefore, the 5 month ending or the 6 month ending, 5 months, they will say they collected 5.5 billion. Or the 6 month ending, they will say they collected 6.6 billion. So now let's be realistic here. Yes, they have entrusted you to collect about what 13 billion, 14 billion. Uh, and again, the revenue recognition principle in terms of grants, whether they are project grants or program grants, I challenge the minister to tell me where in accounting theory it says that grant money should be recorded at 100%. My argument here is that grant money promised by external donors is not legally binding. So therefore, it's not measurable. And if it is not measurable, it's not available. But in the Gambia, they will recognize 100% of the grant money. The government stated, that the grant money, project grant money, was going to be $9 billion, and the program grant money was going to be 3 billion for a total of 13 billion, for a total outlay of 29 billion in revenues, but expenditures of 32 billion. They had a fiscal deficit of 3 billion. That 3 billion, this is before making payment on domestic and foreign loans on the principal, and also any deferment that they had. So in total, the projected 3 billion in fiscal deficit, the loan amount was going to be 6 billion. So out of that 6 billion, guess what? The 3 billion would be used to pay on what? To pay on the loans. So the three surplus 3 billion, or the aggregate, will be negated to the fiscal deficit, and they'll claim that they have a surplus. So as accountants, I mean, I just want to engage you guys to say that no, I disagree with you on this. So this is what we call creative accounting. As one National Assembly member said, you taking money from your right hand to pay the left hand. But the National Assembly members also, to my surprise, they all voted for the salary increase. So what is going to happen, Minister Keita, is that so far the Gambian dollar say as of today went up. What the value, it is now approaching. I'm talking about the official rate. The black market probably 57 now. Is $63 and 84 butut. Just 2 weeks ago, it was 52. So we don't have any macroeconomic policies in our country. Well, and then today I put up something relative to the Gambia has the highest uh, tariff, uh, average tariff rate in the entire African country. The Gambia, I believe, is number 4 in the world. The Gambia's tariff rate is 18.01%. So now, if we want to decrease prices, and remember that 18.01% is before value added tax. So I believe, that the government can raise revenue by getting rid of the tariff and maybe even charge a 6% tax rate on these goods. And then the more people buy, tax revenue will increase. But again, by increasing the salaries of civil servants, which in a sense, to me, you're going to have more money out there in public, and the merchants are going to increase their prices. So as a result, guess what's going to happen? The bottom people are going to suffer more. People who don't work for the government and they don't have the salaries that some government officials have, they're going to pay more. But it's just like in the U.S. where you have some states like Tennessee, Delaware, Connecticut, I believe, Texas. They don't have sales tax. But guess what? Uh, no, they don't have personal income tax, state income tax. But their sales tax is higher. I had the privilege of going to an interview at a school. I didn't decide to take the job, somewhere between sandwich between Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky. And what they told me, oh yeah, we work in Tennessee, but we buy our goods in Kentucky. If you want to, you drive maybe 5 miles down in Virginia
Yeah,
Lee County, you
yeah,
go and buy goods there, because Tennessee doesn't have income tax, but Tennessee's tax rate is higher. So again, we are here as Gambians. We believe that even if you support a president, you have different ways of addressing issues. But I think what is going to happen, I'm afraid to say it, what happened in 1984, the Gambia is going to realize that we're going to have a financial meltdown in our country. They will not be able to pay civil servants because there won't be any money. Where are you going to get it? And I'm still waiting on the Director General of the Gambia Revenue Authority to report his creative numbers. I bet he's going to say for the month of from January to May, they collected 5.5 billion, and from January to June they collected 6.6 billion. Always, and then take that 1.1 multiply by 12, so that is the total amount that they are entrusted to. Yes, but again, what I believe what you just said is that the forecast on the tax collection by the Gambia Revenue Authority is too low. They need to move the goalpost. And then guess what? Because I do believe that the total revenue that the Gambia Revenue Authority collects is one third, 30% to the government, 30% to the taxpayer, 30% consumed by GRA officials. I'm sorry if you have anyone working there, but I don't trust any of the GRA employees. I rest my case.
Thank you, Dr. Conteh. Very well said. As for the tariffs, I think that high tariffs may not be really good for the Gambia. If we are an import dependent country. If we were an exporting country, and we wanted to protect our national industries, we probably high tariffs could have been useful, but we barely have any industries producing in the country. We basically depend entirely on imports. So in that sense, high tariffs is not really beneficial. It's only making goods more expensive in the country. I think the government probably would do a better job revising that, so that it will be easier to bring these goods and services that the people need at lower cost, so they can be sold in the country much cheaper to the people. I think that is what is going to benefit the consumers more than high tariffs at this point. So, but thank you again, Dr. Conteh. I think we're going to end here for today. We'll be back here again next Sunday. Again, those of you watching, or those of you who will be watching later, again, feel free to send us your comments, your views, your disagreements, particularly, or there's something you can educate us on. We will truly appreciate that. We're trying to advance a conversation about our country on critical issues of the day. Again, feel free to reach out to Dr. Conteh, to me. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So don't hesitate to reach out. Tell us what you think, whatever it might be. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. We'll meet again next Sunday. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.